France, in the midst of the 100 Years' War, was drowning in despair and in endless conflict. In this troubled land, a young peasant girl named Joan lived in simplicity and in faith. Joan carried a heart devoted to God, often found in prayer and in silence, though her world was scarred by war. Joan village moments still carried innocence and fleeting joy. In solitude, she heard whispers in her soul, voices she believed came from God. Visions filled her nights, angels and saints, calling her to lead her nation. She confided in her family, yet her words stirred more fear than belief. To others, her words were folly, a mere girl daring to speak of saving France. Yet in her heart, faith burned brighter than all doubt. The sight of Warren devastation sealed her resolve forever. She dared to stand before royalty, claiming God's mission to save France. Though doubted by many, her unwavering faith moved even a prince. Her village whispered against her, branding her a foolish dreamer. Even the captains of France scoffed at her words.
Sent me to deliver France from her enemies.
Peasant girl dared to speak of strategy among generals. But heaven's voice rang louder than the storm.
Oh Lord, grant me strength.
She donned the armor of faith, carrying not a sword, but a banner of God. Against all odds, she led France to victory at Orléans, France, rejoiced, hailing the maiden sent by heaven. Through her, the crown was restored to France. But envy crept into the hearts of men around her. Maiden rising influence threatened those in power.
But as one force, united against the darkness that threatens our land.
Betrayed and abandoned, Joan was delivered into enemy hand. In the darkness of her prison, faith was her only companion. They sought to break her spirit with endless questioning.
I will not betray my king or my faith.
Though her body weakened, her faith never faltered. Before false judges, she stood fearless. They named her heretic and witch, but she answered with truth. Her prayer became her fortress in the night.
Grant me the strength to face what is to come.
Even in chains, her dreams carry visions of triumph. The verdict was death, delivered without justice. Her final dawn was met with prayer, not fear. Led to her fate, she carried herself with unbroken dignity. Betrayed and abandoned, Joan was cast into a cold dungeon of despair. Alone with her chains, she prayed to heaven, drawing strength from the cross. Her accusers thundered against her, yet she spoke with a courage that silenced the room. Iron doors closed, sealing her fate from glory to dungeon. Her darkest journey began in the cold silence of the dungeon. Joan's body was chained, but her spirit remained unbroken. Her captors roared with fury, yet Joan's silence was stronger than their threats. Through the freezing night, they dragged her barefoot across the snow, yet her faith burned like fire within. Even with hunger gnawing at her, Joan lifted her heart to heaven, feeding her soul with faith. Through the narrow bars, she reached for the light, a captive body with a soul that soared free. They pressed her with accusations, but Joan's answers shone with a strength that no chain could silence. In the silence of her cell, she bent her knees, offering her suffering to God. They mocked her with cruel laughter, yet her silence answered with a dignity no insult could break. As the storm raged, she lifted her prayers like lightning to the heavens, unshaken by fear. Even in chains, she found peace. Her faith carried her into rest, like an angel guarded in the night. Her captors mocked her with the certainty of death, but her silence held more power than their words. Beyond the prison walls, whispers spread. The crowd hungered for spectacle, yet some hearts grieved for the innocent girl. The trial pressed on with venom, yet Joan's voice rose clear, unbent by fear. Anger thundered against her, but her serenity revealed a strength born of heaven. With unshaken courage, she proclaimed her faith, a flame no darkness could smother. The crowd mocked her mercilessly, yet she stood with dignity, unbroken by their scorn. Dragged once more through stone corridors, her body faltered, but her spirit did not. Her body, weary and broken, could bear no more, and she fell under the weight of chains. They raised her with violence, but from her lips came only prayer, the strength of heaven in weakness. Alone once more, the chains weighed heavy, and her tears fell like silent prayers. In the dim glow, her shadow rose as a cross, a silent testimony of unyielding faith. At the edge of despair, her face bore sorrow, yet her hands remained clasped in prayer. In the silence of sleep, her soul rose beyond chains and walls, touching the light of heaven. An angel came to her radiant with glory, a messenger of hope in the valley of despair. Tears of sorrow turned to joy, for she knew heaven had not abandoned her. The dungeon shone with light, as if the very stones bore witness to heaven's promise. Her voice rose in sacred song, a hymn of hope echoing through the darkness. The vision faded, but her heart now burned with a fire that no darkness could quench. She prayed not for her life, but for France, land that her people might rise in freedom. Even her jailers, hardened by cruelty, paused in awe before the radiance of her faith.
Guide me through this darkness.
Her prayer rose through the stones, echoing like a hymn carved into eternity. In that dungeon, she shone with unearthly grace, no longer a prisoner, but a saint in chains, brought before the people. She walked with the dignity of a queen, though clothed in rags and chains. The crowd trembled between hatred and grief, for many could not bear to see innocence condemned. Even among her captors, hearts faltered before the unshaken courage of the Maid of Orléans. She spoke not of fear or death, but of faith. Her voice, clear as a trumpet in the silence. With her last strength, she forgave her enemies, the mercy of heaven in a mortal tongue. Her words fell like thunder in silence, and the crowd stood still, unable to answer forgiveness with hatred, at peace with heaven and earth. She stood radiant in chains, a soul untouchable by death. At the heart of the square, she was bound to the stake, a prisoner in flesh, but sovereign in spirit. The flames were lit, and death crept close, yet her lips moved only in prayer. Smoke rose like a shroud, and the people stood in silence, their hearts pierced by the sight above the roar of the flames. Her prayer rang out, strong and clear, a voice of heaven amidst the fire. In the heart of the fire, her face shone not with pain, but with peace. As if embraced by glory itself, the crowd wept, for in the flames they saw not defeat, but the birth of a legend eternal. Among the weary soldiers, memories of Joan burned brighter than any flame. Around the fire, her story lived again, passed from soldier to soldier like sacred truth. In humble chapels, her name was lifted in prayer, a saint in the hearts of the faithful, long before the church proclaimed it. On the lips of children, her name was spoken in awe, their games echoing the battles she once led in humble homes. Her image hung like a guardian, a silent promise that her spirit endured. Her spirit led them still, a fire in their hearts that turned fear into fury. Even in the halls of power, remorse crept in, and the weight of their betrayal grew unbearable by candlelight. They remembered her not as a condemned prisoner, but as a saint who had lit their souls with hope. France stood at the edge of vengeance, torn between wrath and the memory of her mercy. Her words returned to their minds, guiding them not toward hatred, but toward unity and courage. The people rose as one, their voices bound together by her spirit. In her name they fought, not with vengeance, but with the fire of freedom. Amid the clash of steel, they saw her once more, the Maid of Orléans, leading them from beyond. Her prayer became theirs,
Lord,
echoing across fields once stained by blood. And so her name was lifted in the house of God, no longer condemned, but crowned in the hearts of her people. Her last words, spoken in the fire, were not of anger, but of forgiveness. Those who judged her wept, struck by the mercy they had denied her. Even her enemies bowed in spirit, for none could deny her courage. In their hearts, she lived on, not as a martyr of vengeance, but as a symbol of forgiveness. Their voices rose in song, a hymn of remembrance and mercy. The land itself seemed to awaken, bathed in light, as if her spirit blessed it still. And in the heavens, a cross of light appeared, the eternal seal of her forgiveness. Through the centuries, her story never faded, whispered in markets, sung in homes, passed from generation to generation. At last, the Church reopened her case, uncovering the truth long buried beneath lies. Her name was cleared, her honor restored, her memory sanctified before God and man. The nation rejoiced, for truth had conquered, and her light shone brighter than ever before. And in 1920, the Church proclaimed what the people had long known: Joan was a saint. The bells of Paris rang out, carrying her name on their song across the world. In the hearts of her people, she lived eternal, a saint not only of France, but of all humanity, clothed in light. With banner raised, she smiled, her story not of ashes, but of eternal glory.